Welcome to Small Spark Theory. This podcast is designed as a collection of thoughts, ideas, and practical tips on using marginal gains to help your agency new business endeavours. Small Spark Theory is created and hosted by me, Lucy Mann of Gunpowder Consulting. Welcome back to Small Spark Theory. I have been asked by several listeners and clients of mine over the last probably year and a half to do a dedicated episode about LinkedIn and more specifically the wonders of Sales Navigator and LinkedIn and its ability to support new business and client development is something I've been passionate about for some time and have been encouraging all of Gunpowder's clients to really get involved with LinkedIn. I think I've quite often said if you're just going to do one thing, if you're just going to take one piece of advice of everything that I've told you, then just do something with LinkedIn. So I've been thinking about this episode for some time, but struggling actually to find somebody that could talk to me in detail about this and share a real expert view on how LinkedIn can be used and more specifically how Sales Navigator can really, really add value to a new business and client development effort. But I have found somebody and I'm delighted to welcome Alex Lowe. Alex is Head of Social Selling at Digital Leadership Associates. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm absolutely delighted that you're here and that I found somebody that shares my excitement about LinkedIn. It would be really useful for our listeners if you could just tell us a little bit about your background, your career up until now, and what brought you to Digital Leadership Associates.
Fantastic. Thank you. And hasten to add, it was social that brought us together. So
it was indeed. Yes, I
point.
Found you through a combination of LinkedIn and Twitter. So there we go.
Proof is in the pudding. So where to start? My background, sales, out and out. Started life driving those branded minis around central London for 2 years for my sins.
Right.
And thought I needed to get a proper job. So went to Michael Page International with a view to, can you get me a job? They said, well, why don't you come and work for us? So I spent 5 years in recruitment, recruiting sales professionals into the IT and tech sector. So I've been on LinkedIn for the 17 years or so that LinkedIn has been around as a platform. And it was part of the reason I actually left the industry, because I felt that LinkedIn was levelling the playing field. So no longer did I necessarily believe in the brand, dare I say it, because it didn't matter whether it was Michael Page, Robert Half, Harvey Nash. I could be sat in my pyjamas at home and have access to all the same candidates. Yeah. So followed a well-trodden path into professional services. Yeah. So joined PwC, where I was in their BD and marketing function, set up the BD and marketing practice, the corporate finance team, then got bored of the accountants, so thought I'd have a go at the lawyers. So joined what was Berman Leighton Paisner, now Brian Cave Leighton Paisner post the merger. Mm-hmm. Set up key client program, real estate sector program, client listening, client feedback, starting to look at CRM behaviour, and it was towards the end of my time there, so 7 years ago now, I think, 6 years ago, where Jack Hanratty from LinkedIn, he's still there, came in to sell the dream on this new product that LinkedIn had, and I weaseled my way into the meeting with the view, being an ex-recruiter, you could leverage LinkedIn for free very well if you just knew what to do. Yeah. Within about 30 seconds of seeing Sales Navigator as it was then, that changed my view on what they were doing as a platform, where they were going. And for me, this was kind of the light bulb moment. Now LinkedIn will start to become what it was always meant to be, which is not a platform for hiring people, but actually a business networking tool. Yeah. Implemented a few licenses there, then left and joined Jones Lang LaSalle, a commercial real estate firm, and with a view again in a client development role. And it was apparent that, lack of use of CRM, not unusual in large organisations. Yeah. And I'd already proven through LinkedIn that there was a business opportunity that we were just going to leave on the table because we didn't know them, but there were 50,000 people on LinkedIn, and it transpires we did know somebody at said firm, got us an opportunity which turned into a pitch, which we lost, but it was £40,000 worth of business. My argument back to the board was, how many other £40,000 of business are we leaving on the table because there is this assumption that we don't know them. Yeah. So implemented the first ever social selling program in the commercial real estate sector using Sales Navigator. So 150 licenses in the UK, 300 globally, and this is all fee earners. Yeah. So the equivalent of a lawyer, accountant, or a salesperson per se. And in the first full 12 months, we generated 500,000 net new business and built a pipeline of 4.9 million, where the users has said, if we had not thought about LinkedIn differently, if I hadn't written that blog post, if I hadn't made that connection, this business conversation would never have started. This is what this is all about, using social to start a business conversation. End of 16, I lost my job, and that presented an opportunity. And this took me into the crazy world of social and social selling, and teaming up with Tim Hughes and Adam Gray, where they co-founded Digital Leadership Associates, with a view to take our story back into the market. That this is a change in behaviour, this is a change in mindset, this is an entire change of how we need to talk to our clients, because what we did 20 years ago is not working today. Yet you cross the corporate threshold, and we seem to have this weird switch flips in our heads that, what I did 20 years ago still works. And as you and I know, sitting here today, that it doesn't.
It doesn't.
So that's what we're all about.
Wow, okay. And as an organisation, what types of clients do you have? Are they any particular sector or?
So across all sectors, because social it affects, whether you're a one-man band or a multi-billion, dollar global organisation, it doesn't matter. So me, primarily, is professional services, because that is my background. Tim and Adam are ex-Oracle, so with a tech kind of SaaS play. We have recruitment companies, we have traditional business service companies, through to mentoring, startup companies. So I work with PwC, Allen & Overy, to name a few, in terms of their kind of innovation hubs to mentor the startups in this world. For us, it's which organisations are prepared to take that leap. Tim has a great analogy in terms of, imagine that you're standing on the riverbank with one foot on the boat and one foot on the bank, and the boat's slowly going further and further away. You've got to make a choice.
Yes. Yeah.
You either leap into the boat or you stay on the bank.
I've noticed over a period of time that there appear to be certain sectors that have adopted LinkedIn more readily than others. I would hasten to say that I think largely the creative services and, weirdly, even digital agency sector has been quite slow to understand the benefits of LinkedIn. And I can give you an idea. I had a conversation with an agency founder in the last month who said to me, Lucy, so with LinkedIn then, should I perhaps set aside half an hour a week to do that? And I just said, no, absolutely not. Download the app. And how do you get to work? I get the train. Right, while you're on the train, just spend 5 minutes on the app on your journey to work every day, and preferably on the way home as well. And it was a bit of a kind of light bulb moment. It's not something you need to plan in half an hour a week. It's something that you just need to build into your routine. But that really brought home to me how far behind, and that's just using LinkedIn at a really kind of basic networking level. That's without kind of leveraging anything that Sales Navigator has to offer. In your experience, are there particular industries or sectors that are good or bad?
I get asked this question a lot by our clients in terms of how do we compare to everybody else.
Yeah.
Nobody is really leveraging the platform the way that it could be, because back to the mindset, and I'm a huge fan of Carol Dweck and growth mindset and fixed mindset. And she wrote that in the late 90s. LinkedIn has this perception that if you're on LinkedIn, you're looking for a job. Therefore, or my clients aren't on LinkedIn, or my market's not on LinkedIn, or whatever it might be. And to your point, absolutely, this isn't set aside half an hour a day to do it. This should become as normal as picking up the phone, responding to WhatsApp, responding to an email. So things like, download the app, but then you'd be amazed when people have downloaded the app, it's on page 4 of the phone. So they've got to scroll, so they're never going to get to it from a UX perspective. So at least have it on the front side of the screen. But there is no one really leveraging it. There are pockets and there are teams, and you can see there are particular business units that are starting to do a good job of it. But I would suggest there's no one really across any industry that is leveraging it in a meaningful way, because LinkedIn's looking for jobs. And it's that and fear.
Okay.
I'm scared of what to do. I'm scared of saying the wrong thing. What happens if something goes wrong? you can't break LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Okay. So it's all to play for then?
Absolutely all to play for.
Good. Okay. So let's talk about Sales Navigator in particular. And I've got to say, I've been using it, certainly not as a super user. I mean, I think I probably signed up for a beta version quite early in its development and have been sort of playing around with it. My experience has been very much, it's brilliant for building lists, and it's brilliant for understanding who your potential clients could be. The thing that I love about it is that one of the issues that my clients, agencies, always have is, as I've just identified, they find it difficult to find the time to focus on new business activities. And the thing I love about Sales Navigator is that it proactively sends you news. If you spend a little time up front identifying who your audience could be or who your potential prospects are, it will then do the work for you and send you prompts, which just makes it, for me, that's a winner. I'm interested if you could give us your kind of summary of where you feel the benefits are in terms of how working with your clients.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, I have zero commercial relationship with LinkedIn. So if you choose to go and invest in Sales Nav, awesome. Trust me, I've asked them. But so this is a purely independent view based as a client of theirs and now consulting back into industry. The simple way to understand Sales Navigator, it is a CRM system which sits on top of LinkedIn. So normal LinkedIn, you're only good as your network. Sales Navigator, you can access all 610 million members on the platform at the current count. It is split into two, much like CRM systems. You have what they call as a lead, which is an individual that could be an existing client, a prospect, an influencer, anybody really that you want to track in the market, and then your accounts, which is an organisation. You have to feed the platform news and data. You've got to tell it what you want it to show you. It starts an empty box. There's no advertising. There's nothing like that. And the more that you give it, the more that it gives back. The whole premise of Sales Navigator is designed as a tool to help you engage with people that aren't in your network. Now, normal LinkedIn, obviously, you can do that because you can follow anybody on LinkedIn you're not connected to. So you will start to see some of what they do, but that'll be mixed in with your own network's activity and paid for advertising and so on and so forth. Within Sales Navigator, the simple term, you can find anybody on the platform and save them as a lead. They have no idea they've been saved as a lead, irrespective of how close or far they are on your network. But now what happens, every time they engage with the platform, you get a notification, what they're commenting on, what they're sharing, who they're connecting with. You then start to build a picture of that. So it's kind of a basic version of social listening, if your audience is familiar with what that is. That then means if I am, let's say I want to follow a BD director or a managing partner or a partner at a firm or anybody for that matter, do your research, find them who they are, save them as a lead, start tracking. If they comment or post or share something, the whole point about a social platform, the clues in the title, social, just like it, comment on it, engage with it. But then herein lies the challenge. Sales Navigator is only as good as your behavior on LinkedIn. If you have poor behavior on LinkedIn, Sales Navigator isn't going to suddenly help magic this all together. And by that I mean, if you start to engage with people through the platform, through Sales Navigator, which is designed for, but you have a poor LinkedIn profile, you have a poor digital presence, there's no context or relevance as to why you're engaging with that individual, they're just going to look at your profile and go, what, who, why, what's the point in this? Versus if there's context to what you're doing, then they see there's an interesting overlap of similar people you're connected to, they're connected to. You never know, they may actually choose to engage and connect with you, so you're creating the inbound, or when you then leverage your network to get that referral, because that's the best way in, as all the data shows out there, they now know who you are, because you will get the views back on the profiles. You can then save down all your accounts, so you can start to track what's going on within those organisations. It will then start to suggest people to you.
Yes.
It will start to suggest leads to you, and the more you give it, the better that gets. And then you have there's kind of deep dive search tool, which is incredible, and that's usually when I get the aha moment from clients when they go, yeah, but my market isn't on LinkedIn. Really? Choose job titles, choose keywords, search it, and then as you know, you have, here's the sum total, here's how many people have changed jobs in the last 90 days.
90 days, yeah.
Here's how many people are on Teamlink, which I'll come on to in a minute. Here's how many people have posted something in the last 30 days. So there's the activity. Keep scrolling across those that share experiences, and you keep scrolling across, which nobody does. At the very end, it'll tell you anybody in that list who's following your corporate page on LinkedIn. So now we're moving into the world of intent data, one other thing. So now you can start to see who is actively by themselves gone to your corporate page on LinkedIn to click follow. This is scary for marketing, because if none of your key clients are following your page on LinkedIn, then what's the point in having the corporate page on LinkedIn? And now this type of data is becoming more and more freely available through premium versions of what have you. So it is, in simple terms, the best lead generation tool on the market by a country mile. It is both lead gen and client development, account management, because you can not only see what's going with new accounts, you can track all your existing accounts, and then if somebody changes jobs, you know straight away rather than finding 6 months down the line.
Absolutely.
You can do clever reverse lookups, so you can search all the alumni in your current key accounts. Where have they now gone on to? Because my view is, if this is your 10 key clients and you've got a good relationship, the people that have left that you theoretically had a good relationship have gone on to other organisations. We used to work with you at this company. You're now at that company. Can we have a conversation?
Absolutely. And even, I mean, the client development thing is something I'm really interested in. I often talk to agencies when they're looking at building their client development programs about looking for compelling events that are happening within their client's business. So those triggers that allow you to have a conversation with your client outside of the day-to-day project that you're working on. And those conversation starters. And the thing that I love about Sales Navigator is it's pulling company information and, in some cases, contact information, but company information from outside the platform. So if someone's share price has just been announced on the BBC or in the FT, that intel will be pulled in to Sales Navigator and therefore pushed to you if you flag that business as being of interest. And that makes it really powerful. Teamlink. Now that's something I haven't yet had. I haven't been able to get my head around that. Mostly because the businesses that I've been working with haven't got enough people engaged with LinkedIn at that level, but I'd really like to understand what it does.
So Teamlink has evolved over the years. There are two levels you can buy of Sales Navigator. You can buy Sales Navigator Team or Sales Navigator Enterprise.
Okay.
In my view, I don't understand why they split the two out. They should just have Sales Navigator Enterprise and be done with it. Sales Navigator is only as good as the network. Yeah. So if you have 10 people that have, 10 licenses, 10 people, if they're not connected, it creates a virtual connection. So now all those people are connected. But 10 people on a team, it is highly likely that they're going to be connected. Yeah. So then Teamlink ultimately becomes redundant. As you start to scale in terms of your organisation, so let's say you only have 20 salespeople in your team, but maybe 500 people in your company, for the sake of argument. Now, of course, only the 20 salespeople are going to have Sales Navigator because it's relevant for them. But if they're already all connected, then all we're searching is the network of the Sales Navigator network. You can deploy Teamlink Extend tokens, so 1,000, into your organization, which then means that individual will opt their network into the Sales Navigator license. So now when you're doing your searching on Sales Navigator, you start to go into the other people's networks of your organization, even if you're not connected. It doesn't mean you can see the network, but if you're doing a specific search on a person or an organization, and that person is connected to somebody, you then get Teamlink from within. So now what this starts to show is the network of the network. So some clients working with, and we deploy this, we actually use this as a way to prove that teams aren't connected to their key clients. Because if they're not on the Sales Navigator platform, but they deploy Teamlink token into that person's network, in theory, you should expect to see the level of Teamlink introductions increase because they've opted their network in. If that doesn't increase, then that means, and this is the whole point about Sales Navigator is only as good as the behavior on LinkedIn, that means they're not connected to their client base.
Right.
If they're not connected to their client base, when you ask them to share content, their clients are never going to see it because they're not connected. So we're just talking an echo chamber, which makes all this effort that you're creating in digital or whatever it is and marketing to do something is all for nothing, because Our mantra is market through the network, not to the network.
Yeah.
Because CFOs are connected to CFOs, MDs, marketing directors, and so on and so forth. If you're not connected to those people, as I said before, Sales Navigator isn't suddenly going to start magicking these connections from thin air. It is only as good as the network of the organisation to leverage the referrals.
So I was going to ask you about your top 3 tips for starting to use Sales Navigator. I'm actually going to change that, and I'm going to ask for 6 things. So I'd like to understand, recognising that actually there's probably a large part of this audience who are not optimally using LinkedIn on its own. So what would be your absolute top 3 things that they should do on LinkedIn, and then the 3 things how they could get the most out of Sales Navigator if they're starting out?
Yeah. So it's our 3 pillars.
Great.
Good profile.
Yep.
Good personal, whatever you want to call it. Profile, personal brand.
Yep.
And anybody wants to connect and follow me, I've written loads of stuff on this in terms of what this looks like. You cannot template it.
No.
Which we're starting to see in the US. So be the person that you are when you're met face to face. Tell your story. What makes you versus anybody else who out there says we're the best, we're the greatest, blah blah blah. So good LinkedIn profile, because that's your anchor point. Then start to get comfortable in terms of building your network. Just go to, as you said earlier, download the app if you haven't, start getting in there, start finding people they're never all LinkedIn. There are 610 million people on the platform. The chances are that they'll be on there. Encourage everybody to start to connect internally, start to get a feel of what's going on. Then start sharing content. Just a like, just a comment. Set up your hashtags. Start searching hashtags in your own industry in terms of how you can move yourself around. Get a sense and a feel of what LinkedIn is actually becoming. Then invest in Sales Navigator. So the corporate licenses start at the minimum you can get is 10 licenses. It's around 10 grand a year. So it's £1,000 a license per license per year. It's cheap as chips compared to what you're spending on CRM, etc., etc. It
is. I mean, I have to say that's one thing when I have started introducing Sales Navigator, and they've said, it starts at like 60 quid a month, and I'm like, well, how much is it going to cost for an all singing, all dancing new business person with a little black book? Okay, right. So let's start. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. And then look at Sales Navigator as an extension of CRM. So it syncs with pretty much any CRM platform on the market out there at the moment. So if you've got Salesforce, if you've got Dynamics, if you've got Nimble, if you've got HubSpot, I mean, loads out there, it will sync. I'm doing the inverted commas sign here because it depends on how customized you've made your CRM. So then you can pull data from CRM into Sales Navigator, start to pre-populate it. Some CRM systems, they actually allow you to live within CRM and access all of Sales Nav. Save all your clients and contacts, when I mean client as in people, as leads. Save influencers in your industry to see what's what. Save all your accounts. So organisationally, just save them. Just start to watch what's going on. Just kind of watch it. I've got a whole bunch of how-to videos on all of this, how to set up from the basics the whole way through, and then engage. The whole point of this is let's get away from, oh my God, this is like super stalking. We're not stalking on LinkedIn. We are starting a business conversation. So when you see somebody who you don't know, but you want to get to know, share something interesting, just a gentle like, or that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing it. Or actually, we've got some supporting research to show this, or be brave. Actually, we've got some research which counters this. Start a debate, because what will start to happen is where you want to get to is I read that, I saw that, somebody recommend I have a conversation. So exactly how you and I are sitting here today, I had no idea that you were looking for somebody to come onto your podcast and talk about Sales Navigator. I could have cold called you 6 months ago. You would have gone, go away. It could have been too late. I let the market come to me when the market's ready to have a conversation. But the only way I do that is actually by being present on LinkedIn. Sales Navigator just helps accelerate all of this by helping me find who I should be having conversations with and about what.
Brilliant. And there's something actually, I think on your LinkedIn profile, you talk about making digital human. And actually, I think that's a really good point. And I think you made that point earlier. It's behaving online as you would if you were in a room full of people. So if we went to a networking event and I heard somebody asking a question or sharing some expertise in a room, then I might go over and say that was really interesting and start a conversation. And I guess it's just behaving in the same way as you would in a room, but doing it online.
Yeah.
Now, I picked up something that you wrote about on LinkedIn in the last week or so about contact data. Now, and I think somebody had asked a GDPR question about exporting LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I mention it is last year in one of our early episodes of Small Spark Theory, one of our contributors gave some advice to agencies saying once a year, export your LinkedIn data and just go through and just see who have you not been in contact with and what have you. Now, I know obviously GDPR has happened since then, and I think in your response last week, I think you said that that's actually changed and you can't export the data anymore.
So you can download the data of your first degree network.
Yeah.
What you can't do is your email address is now defaulted to off to be exported out, because what was happening, you get these 30,000 connections, they just connect with everybody, they suck all your data out and they sell it off to a marketing agency or whatever it might be. If you bother to read LinkedIn's terms of business, which I do because I'm boring, you will note, especially around the CRM sync, that anything that's done within LinkedIn, you're fine. So whether that's on the marketing platform, the recruiter platform, the sales platform, Point Drive, whatever it might be, Point Drive we need to come on to. The minute you take that data out of LinkedIn, and primarily they're looking at this, putting it into your own recruitment platform, CRM platform, marketing platform, they wash their hands of any responsibility and you process that data as you see fit under current GDPR rules. By no means a GDPR expert, but reading between the lines, a lot of it is based on intention, a lot of it is based on how often you do things. But in theory, if you are a one-man band recruiter and you download all your contacts from LinkedIn and just have it on a spreadsheet, you now become a data controller. So in theory, you should then register yourself with the ICO to say, I'm now a data controller, and then you need to seek permission from the people whose data you hold that I'm now holding your data. So my advice would be, if you've got the CRM sync, then you will be safe, in inverted commas, based on how your organisation chooses to manage GDPR. Outside of that, just why risk it? I know nothing is likely to happen, but just why risk it?
Just behave. Okay. So, Point Drive, what's that?
So, Point Drive, the secret source of LinkedIn, which no one seems to use or know about. So, LinkedIn bought Point Drive about 6 months before the Microsoft acquisition. So, I'm assuming all your listeners are aware that Microsoft bought LinkedIn 3 years ago for $26 billion. So, it's now owned by Microsoft. Go on to that in a minute. Point Drive originally is designed for pitching. So how many times have you sent a proposal and then goes into the ether? No response. You don't know what's happened or anything. So within Point Drive, you can create microsites. You then you add your proposal, you maybe add a video, some supporting research, whatever it might be. You can make it as private as you want, so password protect it. You can set expiration dates, you can prevent downloads and so on and so forth, depending on how sensitive the data is. That creates a URL specific to that Point Drive. So I would then send you an email going, really great to meet, as discussed, here's our proposal and some supporting information. If you don't open that, I know you haven't opened it, which then tells me you haven't opened it, which means you were trying to get me out of the room. So we have a problem here in terms of, is this opportunity actually an opportunity? If you do open it, I get an email notification straight away. As a user, you are told before you click through, this is powered by Sales Navigator, we will use some of your data, blah, 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 blah. I can then track the behaviour of what you're looking at and downloading within the proposal. If you forward that on within the organisation, the next person to open it, it then tells me, save a lead in Sales Navigator, so you can start to build a map of maybe who the other influencers and decision makers are. The flip side is you can use it as a marketing tool. So I have all my Point Drives, all my Point Drive videos and Sales Navigator videos, etc., in a Point Drive, which I then just share regularly into LinkedIn, just consistently. The top, you didn't know about this, the top 3 things, Every time someone opens it, I get an email notification. Now we're moving into the world of intent data. Why would anybody be looking at any of my marketing material that's on a how-to video for Sales Navigator? They either have it or they're thinking about getting it, which signals to me they must be then thinking about social and social selling. So I now know who these people are. So I then go back into my network, see if I can find where an introduction might be. If I can't find an introduction, then start to engage with them on social, and or they may actually contact me directly. But now I understand who's interested at what time, where they might be. And again, we do zero email marketing as an organisation. We do zero cold calling because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Let the market come to us when they're ready. I now know these people are thinking about, possibly interested in Sales Navigator. I don't then pick up the phone, or I don't then have a conversation going, I know that you've been looking at this, but you start the conversation in a different place based on what you know on the data that is now available to you.
Exactly. Very interesting. I have a feeling that much of our audience might be a little bit away from Point Drive just yet, but I'm confident we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm trying to think of some of the questions that I get asked quite a lot. And this comes back to sort of basic LinkedIn use. And this, I'm thinking of primarily agencies that might be around the, 10 to 50 people. So an organisation that's kind of up to 50 people. And the challenge around sharing content. When do we do it on our corporate page? When do we share it as individuals? And how do we, do we post it on the company page and then everyone shares it? I know that when, as it was then called, the published post first started, it worked in quite a different way, and it was quite powerful because everybody, if you published a post, which is now an article, everybody in your network got the little red notification to say, Lucy's just published an article, and therefore your views were quite high. That doesn't happen now. It's changed. It's kind of levelled out a bit.
The algorithm.
The algorithm has changed. I'm wonder what your thoughts are on the balance of company page versus individual.
So that's a great question. Corporate page is important, but when was the last time you engaged with a corporate page? I actually had a conversation with the corporate page.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't, because we don't. Yeah. Twitter's slightly different. If you're like me, you might be complaining to Virgin Media about your broadband going down, or BA, your flight going, whatever it might be. People buy people.
Yeah.
So, yes, you want them to reshare the corporate post. You can reshare the corporate post, but ideally, it's you should read this because this is interesting. Did you know? Yeah. Otherwise, what happens, and at scale, so I know you mentioned an organisation of only kind of 50, but the same would apply. We refer to it, forgive the phrase, as kind of corporate vomit, because everybody is just sharing the same thing at the same time without any real context. And actually, what you want to be doing is sharing more third-party content than your own corporate content, because you want people to engage and follow you because you are sharing interesting, insightful stuff that's happening in their world, blended with the corporate message, and this is how we can help. Ideally then with your own message, your own voice, or your own podcast, your own written article, your own video, your own all three, infographics, and this is my view, this is my voice. Because humans are lazy by nature. And if someone else is curating the interesting stuff in one place, I'm going to follow that person. And back to your point, that's the genius of what Sales Navigator does. It does some of this already for you. And I was with a law firm in Singapore last week. Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week.
Yes.
And one of the partners of kind of 15 years, we were talking about this and how you leverage third-party content. He was like, I did this 15, 20 years ago. But what do? I see an interesting piece in the FT or whatever the magazine article was. I'd photocopy it. I'd write, saw this and thought of you, and I'd fax it.
Yes, exactly.
So we're not... This is this crazy thing. In terms of output, that hasn't changed in 20 years. What are we trying to do? Start a business conversation. Input is what has changed. The channel is what has changed. And employee advocacy is kind of becoming all the rage now. So if you, within your 50-person digital agency or whatever it might be, they're looking to recruit, the peers are far more likely to buy from each other, come and work at this place. By the way, it's a great company to work for. You then get direct hires, so you're saving money on recruitment fees. One tech company, we've saved them the best part of £500,000 a year.
Wow.
This year alone in recruitment fees. They didn't believe us. They refused to believe us. Wrote quite an interesting article as a recruitment post. The inbounds they got from that because it was human, because it talked, not the big common work for us. And then we move into things like LGBT and CSR policies and all this kind of stuff. And, we were talking about the legal industry earlier, but it doesn't matter any industry. It's all very well. You may have the pale male stale, it can be pale male female, doesn't really matter, at the top saying we're doing this. Where's the voice of the company? I don't care whether you're a four-man organisation like us, four-man and women organisation, I should say, organisation like us, or a 50-person agency or a £100 million organisation. Where is the voice of the business going, not only are they saying this, they actually back it up? Now, I put HR directors in quite uncomfortable positions by saying this, because I challenge organisations. Because if the organisation is not prepared to do that, it could be a fear thing, there could be a permission thing, but typically if they're not, we then have a fundamental issue in terms of organisationally and culturally within the organisation. That's a question that I can't answer.
Okay. One more thing that strikes me is I've noticed a little bit of a change actually only in the last 6 months on LinkedIn, and that's the type of content that's being shared. So there has always been, or increasingly, more and more articles, posts, thought leadership in written form. Obviously there are links to video and there are links to podcasts and audio, but increasingly I've seen what I can only describe as a vlogging type approach, which isn't necessarily sharing video of presentations, but it's people talking to camera in a vlogging style. That's so I don't know whether you've noticed the same.
I do it every Friday. I have a
Do
hashtag
you?
Ask Alex every Friday,
Okay.
and I record it on a Friday
Okay.
to be as authentic as possible. Video is blowing up in terms of marketing generally. If we just touch on the content piece, there are lots of articles of people trying to game the algorithm. The algorithm was changed just before Christmas, and they're trying to give more back to the people. Bill Gates gets a like on his post, he doesn't care. If you share something and you don't get a like, you might not share again. And Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft, his pay is now pegged to 10 pillars within that, and one of those is performance of LinkedIn in terms of engagement.
Right.
So not numbers of people, actually how engaged people are on the platform.
Okay.
So we're seeing a shift in terms of how content is being disseminated because of how we consume content, because of the Instagram generation, because of the Snapchat generation, because of, it needs to be short, sharp, to the point. Video needs to be either less if it's kind of the vlog video, less than 3 minutes, if it's kind of a marketing snippet, less than 60 seconds. Facebook analytics say you've got around 1.6 seconds to engage with somebody before they just scroll through. The thing for me for video is that I share my hashtag Ask Alex every Friday, and it's gone through iterations over 12 months. Remember the first one I posted, I just sat there. I genuinely was scared. I was genuinely going, well, what if it gets no engagement? What if people start trolling me? What? And I was like, just do it.
Yeah.
And from when I first doing it, it's been sat kind of in my office at home, kind of very stale.
Yeah.
People feeding back, going, bring it to life, be more natural. So now I play around with apps, I play around with all kind of different stuff. But I get between 1,000 to 10,000 views is my biggest thing. Now, a view on LinkedIn means somebody has to have watched the video for 3 seconds. But let's just go with 1,000. Let's take 500 of those actually watch the full 3 minutes. That's 500 voicemails.
Wow.
But it's not a random voicemail. It's a face. It's me. It's talking. They then look at the other stuff that I'm doing, and there'll be people out there which don't like my style and my approach, which is absolutely fine.
Because it's who you are.
Because it's exactly. And we probably wouldn't want to work with each other anyway.
Exactly.
And there are other people out there who go, you know what? I like his style. I like his approach. The way that Tim writes, the way that Adam writes. We are very different. And we don't try and conform to, we have the brand, but we don't conform to the brand because we are the organisation. This backs my earlier point around we've got to start encouraging the voice of the company because people buy people, they don't buy organisations. So video, podcasts like this, podcasters, they're pegging that, Gary Vee, if you're a Gary Vee fan, saying voice is going to be massive in 2019, but use it all.
Yeah.
Use all of it, long form, short form, infographics, podcasting like this, video, because we all consume different types of content.
In different ways. Good. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be vlogging anytime soon. I'm much happier.
It's super easy. You've got your iPhone, smartphone, whatever.
Yeah.
Editing software's on there. Literally straight to it. I use Zubtitle, Zubtitle for subtitles.
Okay.
Dirt cheap. If you're going to do vlogging, you have to have subtitles.
Yes.
Otherwise, they show at least a 7% drop-off rate for those that don't, because we all watch it on mute. Lumen 5, Lumen 5. Make sure you put in the 5, otherwise you'll find that old people's dating site.
Right. Oh, good Lord.
Turns written word into video.
Okay.
It's insane.
Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. I need to ask you which book or TED Talk or inspiring person or film you would recommend to our listeners.
Technology versus Humanity by Gerd Leonhard.
Okay.
Written in 2016, kind of starts me on the kind of this human aspect of things. Brilliant book. And those of you who've been through my presentations, I used his video from 2016 to introduce all of this. Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark.
Okay.
Again, fascinating insight into kind of where we're going as society, but kind of slightly more forward-thinking than Gerd. There's a piece on YouTube by Salim Ismail, back from 2015, when he talks about he runs the Exponential University in Singularity. Bearing in mind this was in 2015, it's 45 minutes long, but you just sit there as going, and of course what he was talking about is now starting to come true. So, for me, it's kind of those are the three authors that have kind of started me on this odyssey. So Gerd Leonhard, Max Tegmark, and Salim Ismail.
Fantastic. We will post links to all of those in the accompanying post. And if we were going to give away one of those books, which one would it be?
I'll go with Gerd Leonhard.
Great.
Because his book started me on this journey.
Super. Okay, well, listeners, you know what to do. Just join in the conversation on Twitter at Gunpowder Tweets using the Small Spark Theory hashtag. And as always, we will pick a winner and send a copy to you in the post. I have one last question. What's the best piece of advice you've been given in your career that's really stuck with you?
Saying sorry.
Oh, I love that. Brilliant. Who told you that?
Long time ago, actually. John Hunt, of all people, the founder of Foxtons. It stuck with me. He didn't call me out when we all used to go to Mayfair on our minis and descend on Mayfair, much to the chagrin of everybody around there, on Friday evening to call out our sales figures. And I was relatively new into the lettings gig, and I just messed up a relationship with a client in terms of, rather than telling them what they needed to do, which is just drop the price, I tried to just make stuff up, and it went wrong. And client got everyone's frustrated with Foxtons, right?
Yeah.
Client got frustrated, moved the instruction, and actually all I should have done is just said, sorry, I got it wrong. I know I said that. I should have said this.
Yeah.
So I knew he was talking about me, and it made me feel quite uncomfortable because I was very young at this stage. But he said, look, we make mistakes.
Yeah.
The biggest thing to do is just hold your hands up and say, I'm sorry.
Brilliant advice. Alex, you've been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much. And I have a feeling we may be getting some questions on this episode. So maybe we're going to get you back another time, perhaps. And but we will, as I say, we'll post links to all of those resources that Alex has shared with us. And thanks so much for your time.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks.
You have been listening to Small Spark Theory, brought to you by Gunpowder Consulting. Join in the conversation on Twitter at Gunpowder Tweets using the hashtag Small Spark Theory. This podcast is created and hosted by me, Lucy Mann, and edited and produced by Isabel Jarvis. Music is provided by Duke Deck, available at dukedeck.com, and this episode was recorded at The Pod at White City Place. For more information and to download further episodes, head to our blog at gunpowderconsulting.com. And if you like what you hear, head to iTunes and leave us a star.